Okay, thank you all for joining today. I appreciate you taking time out of your day. My name is Scott Aldridge and I'm a director here at PrimeTel AI. Today we're going to be looking at the transformative power of AI and automation. So firstly, a brief overview of who I am and who PrimeTel AI is. I'm sure you're all wondering. We are technology advisors, so we help our clients find the best fit technology that meets their business needs or overcomes a challenge. We have experience working across all sectors and understands the processes that can be improved upon with the use of AI and automation. And that's whether you're in legal, retail, insurance or logistics. By engaging with PrimeTel, you'll save time and money through the introduction of right first-time suppliers that we have evaluated and assessed over the many years that we have been in business. We have a flexible engagement model that first looks to understand your business, its challenges and goals. We then analyse your existing estate, providing a process map of the current systems and workflows. Essentially, this allows us to make recommendations of where AI and automation can best be implemented and the impacts will have on your business. Essentially, what will the ROI be? We support you through the supplier evaluation process all the way through to integration, acting as an additional member of your team. Our goal is to become your trusted advisor, not just for the purchase of AI technology, but through our parent company, PrimeTel Ltd, we can support you through a number of different technology projects. So this slide is to highlight the ever expanding AI market and looking at that as a layman, where do you start? This is just a small cross section of the number of providers out there offering an AI type solution. And it's growing on a daily basis, very much likened to the dot-com bubble days, where companies are spinning up all the time with an AI type offering. Our job is to find the diamond in the rough. We're evaluating suppliers all the time so that when presented with a requirement from one of our clients, we know which suppliers are the right fit. So on that basis, we picked out 3 suppliers, all with unique offerings in the AI and automation space that have practical applications, whether you're in legal, insurance, retail or logistics, or indeed any sector, as this technology is transformative for all. We trust these suppliers and they come with our approval and gone through our detailed assessment program. So we'll be hearing today from Sundown Solutions, a Microsoft Azure expert partner, one of a few in the UK. They'll blow you away with their large language model offering. We have Cleardata, providing digital mailroom, robotic process automation and many more services. And then last up, we have Poly.AI, specialists in voice-based conversational AI solutions. During the presentation, please feel free to ask any questions in the chat box and we'll pick them up as we go, or at the end of today's session. So without further ado, I present Sundown Solutions.
Thanks, Scott. Hi, everyone. I'll just share my screen out. Brilliant. Okay. So, hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Thanks, Scott, for the intro. My name's Tom Meaden and I'm the Chief Technology Officer at Sundown Solutions. I'm also joined with me today by my partner in crime, Matthew Griffiths. He's here as moral support because I'm currently suffering from what I'm led to believe is a 100-day cough. So if I have to stop talking at any point, then Matt is poised and ready to jump in and take over. So let's get into it. I'm going to talk to you today a bit about how AI can really transform the way that we think about automation and how we at Sundown can help you with that journey. Before we get into it, I'll just tell you a little bit about Sundown Solutions, so you know who you're talking to. So first and foremost, like Scott said, we are a leading Microsoft service provider and Azure expert managed service provider with three key pillars to the business. We offer managed services, we offer consulting and professional services, and we're also a team of product developers. We have a real depth and breadth of expertise in the Microsoft ecosystem, from Azure to Microsoft 365 and Modern Workplace. We cover end user compute, SharePoint, Teams, to sort of database, AI driven projects and cloud compute and sort of everything in between, really. We're established in 2009 by a set of real Microsoft experts, Microsoft certified masters, if you remember that certification, folks. And they are a real heritage in delivering transformational change across the Microsoft stack. We pride ourselves in comprehensive engineering and development capabilities to deliver on really clear client outcomes, and we really take an approach that's centered around collaborating with our customers and forming a long-term partnership to make sure that we're all sort of delivering in the same direction. So this is the message that I wanted to communicate today. AI enables dynamic automation, and by that I mean if you think about traditional automation, which is typically around facilitates performing repetitive tasks. Traditional automation relies on expected uniform input. So we need to, when we're building an automation system, we need to know what to expect it to receive, and we need to configure it to output something in a certain form. And that generally is quite static unless you have to, unless you build something highly complex. By introducing artificial intelligence into our automation systems, we can start to handle much more unpredictable, varied inputs, and this creates a shift really in the way that we think about automation. Instead of thinking about rigid, well-defined and predefined even processes, we can start to build more adaptive, more intelligent workflows. And to demonstrate this, I've pulled together a couple of demos that are based on some real world examples in the claims management space. I'll be perfectly honest, I saw an opportunity to do a bit of programming and I jumped on it in preparation for this demo. So I'll just stop sharing this slide deck and share my other screen. So one of common use cases in claims management is categorizing claims. And in this very, very simple demonstration, we're able to provide a claim, a description of a claim that might come from a customer using their language, their choice of language. We're able to submit that through the system, and it's going to highlight which categories this claim is applied to. It's come back and it said, so the claim here is, while driving on the M25, another vehicle collided with my car's passenger side, causing significant damage and injury. And the language model has analysed this text, and it's decided that this falls into three categories: automobile accident, property damage, and personal injury. And at the bottom, it's even provided a justification as to why it's chosen those categories. We'll do it again for a different claim description. This one around sustaining damage during a flood or during storms. Language model again is able to read this statement and apply these tags or these categories to this description. Now, what's really really interesting here is that the claim doesn't need to be in any specific form. It can be in the natural language of the customer. It can be be in their dialect. It can even be in their natural language. And here's an example of it receiving a claim in this is actually Korean. And because the language model is so advanced, it treats this as if it's coming in as English, and it automatically translates that without us having to do anything clever to tell it to do that. In my other example, this demonstrates how a language model can be used to really to compare claims descriptions or any text. But in this example, we're going to be comparing the description of personal injuries that a claimant has made compared to the analysis or evaluation of an independent medical examiner. So if we load up an example, In this case, the claimant is submitted a claim saying they're getting a constant ringing in their ears since a loud concert, a struggle to concentrate, and it's affecting my sleep. Whereas the independent medical examiner has said that the patient is presenting with acute appendicitis. Clearly, these claims do not match, and the language model is going to tell us that in a second. So what it's returned for us, what I've told it to return, is a similarity score. That's a score between 0 and 1 that describes how similar these two descriptions are. And it also provides, again, a justification as to why it's given it that score. Now, typically, this kind of process would require a human to perform that analysis. We don't need to do that anymore because this language model can do it for us. If we take another example with two claims with some similarities, it's given us a score of 0.5, and this one is said that whilst both descriptions mention pain resulting from an accident, the claimant describes knee pain and swelling, whilst the medical examiner mentions shoulder pain and limited range of motion. And then finally, for completeness, I've got two descriptions that do match, and it's come back with a similarity score of 0.9, and it's actually picked up on the very subtle difference that the claimant specifically mentions the issue occurring during physical activity, while the examiner advises avoiding strenuous activity. So there is a very, very subtle discrepancy, but overall the descriptions are very similar. I'll come back to my slides now. Sorry, bear with me. So, Matt, if you don't mind, I'm going to ask you to jump in and to introduce to the crowd Project Shirker, which is really our offering at Sundown that helps organisations understand how and where to apply AI.
Of course, Tom. You go on mute and cough, because I know that's probably what he's. Bless him. Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. So, underpinning the demonstration that Tom's just given is the solution that we have, which is Project Shirker, and this came about following conversations with our clients who span both the public sector and regulated industry, and a need to embrace and exploit the capabilities of AI, but doing that in a secure, pragmatic, and measured way. So Project Shirker basically has been developed to allow those organizations to experiment and to understand the impact of AI on their businesses, on their users, processes, and data. And I would stress it's impacting all four of those elements. It then utilizes to do that the power of Microsoft Cognitive Services and an OpenAI. So basically, using large language models that exist out there, but doing so in a much more secure way. And we'll come on to that, how it does that. And really, it's allowing those organizations that we've deployed this to really understand how to best leverage their internal business data, whilst also then looking at how they expand that into their business processes whilst maintaining those sort of security and governance standards. So really it's a case of, I think, AI, as we all know, is in every presentation, in every LinkedIn post, and is seen as at times of something as a silver bullet. It does need organizations to understand the impact of their bit on their business and deploy that in an appropriate way. Next slide, please, Tom. That feels like a throwback phase. So talking a little bit around how we do that and how we secure it. So, I mean, principally, we have a concept of personas within Shirker. And what that means is you can define groups of individuals within an organization to have a persona. So that could be, for example, the HR department. Purely, there's an HR persona, and they are allowed to access certain repositories of data often, given how the world we exhibit, often around Microsoft SharePoint. So it'll be certain libraries in Microsoft SharePoint, for example, where they can use the large language model and the tooling around Shirker to interrogate that data in a conversational style, as you've seen with any large language model, and we'll show in a moment. What that means is that you've got two additional elements of control there. You've basically got the ability to say, I only want this group of users to use this solution, and then I only want them to be able to see this data, and specifically this data. So that removes 2 or 3 different factors there. One, it allows you to tune the use of that AI to a business process and to something that is going to generate return on investment or allow you to experiment with that return on investment. Secondly, it removes that much quoted risk of hallucination, because that data is your data typically. And secondly, obviously limits that risk of data leakage if they were using a broader ChatGPT, for example, type model as well. Everything is end-to-end encrypted. So again, those conversational elements are fully encrypted. And again, in terms of how we've deployed this, we've deployed it in a number of different models with some flexibility there. So again, it's not a one-size-fits-all approach, which we don't believe AI should be. We see, again, AI and the use of Shirker sitting alongside multiple different technologies, be that the likes of Copilot, which we also do a lot of work with, or vertically aligned tools that are now embedding AI in their solutions. Shirker allows you to sit in the middle there and to do some work that's really aligned around business process. Tom, do you want to jump into very quickly the sort of Shirker high-level demo?
Yeah, are we doing okay for time, Scott?
Yeah, it's fine.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, before I do that, I just want to reiterate the point that Matt made there. Thanks, Matt, for jumping in while I cleared my throat. Which is that with the flexibility in the way that the tool is deployed, we really enable the technology to come to you, rather than you having to establish trust with yet another SaaS vendor where your data has to go somewhere where you're not in control of it. Your data stays within your sphere of influence or your walled garden, and you can apply the technology right there. So to round the session off, I do have a final demonstration. Now this is Project Shirker. It's a fairly standard sort of chatbot interface, and down here on the right I can select one of the 3 personas that I've been allocated in this demonstration environment. I'm going to select the Digital Armor persona. Digital Armor is a cybersecurity service that we offer. Now this persona is connected to a SharePoint folder that has some public-facing information about that service, and I can ask it to please summarize in 3 sentences the most important recommendations made by Digital Armor. So what's happened here is it's taken my question, it's searched for the most relevant content in the area that this persona has access to, no wider, and it's found the most relevant chunks of information. It's then sent those to the large language model along with my question, allowing the language model to reason over the content and provide a measured answer to my question. Finally, again, to sort of mitigate that risk of hallucinations or more simply put, language models making stuff up, we've quote the references to the source information. So if I read this, I think it looks good, I want to be doubly sure that the information is accurate, I can click on one of these links and it will take me straight into SharePoint where that source document is. So the services that we offer in this space that I want you to take away with you today is we can help you in 2 ways to start thinking about AI. We can help you explore whether or not Shirker can add value to your organization, whether there's potential for it there. or we can, really start to engage with you to define and start to build customized AI-powered automation along the lines of the claims management use cases I showcased earlier. And if you're interested in doing that, then please reach out to our colleagues at PrimeTel, and I'm sure Scott will be sharing contact information later on. That's all we have today, folks. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks, PrimeTel guys, for letting us present. Are there any questions in the chat we need to address?
No, and just a reminder, yep, feel free, everyone, to put a question in the chat. Just one question from me, because it was, you mentioned both of them, and I think it's quite important to differentiate yourselves, but you mentioned Copilot and you also mentioned ChatGPT. And I'm sure there'll be a lot of familiarity within the attendees in terms of that technology. But how does Sundown see it differentiate, and what's the kind of key differences between them?
I think the key thing to remember is that we don't position ourselves as an AI vendor. We're not building language models. We're not we're not machine learning experts. We are AI. We position ourselves as AI enablers. So we will happily support any organization with adopting Copilot and understanding what the prerequisites are for that. Equally, we offer Shirka as an option for when the limitations and constraints of Copilot and ChatGPT don't quite cut it. Then Shirka is there and able to step in to facilitate more sort of controlled use cases. Anything to add, Matt?
Yeah, I'll just say in terms of Copilot, what the feedback is at the moment, that obviously it's certainly in Microsoft parlance, people won't be surprised. It's an evolving tool set, so there are some good things about it. There's some things it's still developing, and it does command a fairly significant price point. So one of the things, and again, we're having this conversation with Microsoft, we've had clients using Shirka to start to interrogate their internal data as a part of the process to getting their data organized in the correct manner, with the correct permissions on, because the one thing that Copilot will do, and we've had this experience that this ourselves internally, is it will bring back data to any user if it's not correctly sort of have the correct permissions and the correct access settings. So there is definitely, again, as we sort of said at the start, it's not a silver bullet. It needs some preparation and some thought. So we do see Shirka coexisting very happily alongside Copilot, and we are a very close partner of Microsoft in that respect. ChatGPT, I think, yes, there are similarities, but we're doing it in a more controlled way. So really the difference between ourselves and ChatGPT is twofold. One is our ability to adjust what we're deploying to more closely align to the business model and the required outputs of the organization, and secondly, with a greater level of control and governance and security around that.
But there's also a difference in the commercials as well. With ChatGPT and Copilot, you pay a flat rate for each user that you want to have access to the tool, whereas with Shirka, you only pay for the users that have actively used the app in a given month. So the pricing is much more flexible.
Right. Thanks, guys. Okay, just before we move on to Cleardata, I'm just going to put a quick poll up. This poll is just to kind of understand where your organizations are planning investment in the next 12 months, so that we can understand what your priorities are, but also help us sort of plan our next events. So I'll just launch that now. Feel free to answer that at any point. It'll be available on the right, and there's multiple choices that you can select there. Yeah, next up we have Paul at Cleardata.
Thank you, Scott. I am going to just leave my camera off just in case I have any major fails with videos flowing. So let me just share my screen. Okay, can you see my slide deck there?
Yep, it's not in presentation mode, but yeah.
Should be now. How's that?
That's it. Perfect.
So what's a document management company doing at an AI and automation event, you ask? So I think I just asked myself the same question. Let me tell you a little bit about what Cleardata do and some of the differences between us and kind of other traditional document management businesses. So we've been in the document processing game for about 20 years, providing high volume scanning for companies in the NHS, for businesses in the legal, insurance, pension and financial sector. We're probably processing somewhere in the region of about 2 million images a day. So that's processing, when I say that, is scanning paper to image. And that varies dramatically based on how much the Royal Mail deliver to us or what our clients push towards us. What we've been finding lately is that we're starting to move towards more automation type work. So since 2013, we started doing things like invoice processing automation, looking at mail items coming through, trying to do a little bit more with them than just scan them and pass them back to our clients. And what we've done there is built up quite a nice technology stack that means that when somebody comes to us, we've already done the due diligence on the platforms, we've already kind of done rigorous compliance testing, and effectively using our accreditations can build them a service rather than them having to go out to market and buy various different pieces of software. The other thing is we have loads of humans, which is a strange thing to add into a conversation about AI and automation, but we know from experience that, you know, exceptions are a real thing, and quite often we'll need people to get involved in a process to make that decision where software or OCR, for example, might not have read into a couple of documents. So that makes it quite a compelling offering for our clients. So what's our aim with our clients? So processing their documents. So whether that's coming in as a physical post item or an email, or pulling it down from an SFTP, or dealing with content from their website, our aim is to take that document and its content and push it as far down the process as possible, ultimately aiming for a workflow that might well be already built inside of their CRM, or if not, try and build in something that replicates the human element. We want to get documents available to our clients as quick as possible. So literally on receipt, understand those documents, scan, read, and then pass them into CRM platform. We want to keep their workforce on task. So ideally, you pay people to do a skilled job. It's not to scan documents, to index data, to key things into CRM. So that's really where we pick that up. And we also appreciate that our clients have SLAs and timescales that we're working to, so we can help them maintain and hit those KPIs. Because we're processing so much data for our clients, we also share a lot of management information. This just helps them look at improvement processes, see what their clients are saying, help them build and improve what they've already done in terms of a process. So I'm going to give you a couple of examples today, case studies, if you will. So the first one is a mailroom service that we built for one of our clients. So we noticed with one of our clients that we were processing their mail for them. We received it around 8 a.m. and it was going back to them 10:30, 11 o'clock. Quite quickly, what they said to us is that it's great, but you've caused us a bit of a bottleneck. So all of a sudden we're getting loads of documents that we need to get into our CRM with some key information. And it's taking us kind of 2.5 minutes each document to key that in. And do you know what? That's causing us a bit of a problem. It's, you know, we're missing deadlines, we're creating bottlenecks, we're putting pressure on our staff to process quickly, and that's causing them to make mistakes. Is there anything that you could do for us? So of course, you know, we're in the business of making money. So we said, yeah, absolutely. We can probably deploy some of our automation to start to extract what you want. So effectively, what we did was we took a look at the project. So we looked at the fields that they were taking off the document, and we said, yeah, we can do this. So give us all your documents and we'll use one of our tools with machine learning built in to understand all the fields and where they would be and how to extract them and pass them off. So most of the stuff I'm going to show you now is kind of a back office operation. So it's quite quick. So I'll pause it and talk where necessary. But effectively, this is their documents coming into our system, if you like, for processing. Can you see that on screen if I start that video, Scott?
Yeah, I've got that.
Brilliant. Right, okay. So I'm going to pause it. So the first thing that happens once we've scanned, so these are mail items. In fact, these are court documents in this scenario, but the same goes for documents we receive for any of our clients. As soon as they've gone through our scanners, we're using IBML Fusion scanners that create a very good quality image, but also process at a very high speed. So about 700 pages per minute for each machine. So we can get through volume fast. So as soon as those images come off the scanner, and we've redacted these documents, but the first thing we will do is put them through one of our engines. In this case, the capture engine is looking for about 9 different fields of information. So case number, claim received date, claimant date, issue fee, issue date, about 3 or 4 others. But effectively we're doing that because that's pushing the document down the workflow. I think in their world, if I remember rightly, they were using Proclaim. And what would happen is when they would receive a document from us, They would drag it off the SFTP. They would then push it onto a case. They'd have to index it against the right case number, and then they'd have a pop-up wizard that would come and ask them all these different questions. And I could really appreciate what the challenge. So you saw there that when we put these documents through, so 16 went through there in, I don't know, just about a second, and we've extracted all those fields of information for them. We've also created exceptions which would go to one of our team just to look at the image and make sure that actually those fields for that document, they're just not being completed, so we can end task for that document. Then from there, the process is very, very simple. So it literally goes through our transformation tools. So for a specific client, they might want back PDFs and a CSV. They might want us to access data via API. In some cases, for really clunky backend systems, we use our RPA service, RoboCloud, to effectively manually key in at high speed into CRM. So we can work with the latest and greatest platforms right through to some really quite horrendous platforms that are very slow and clunky. But what that means for the client is they're receiving their content very, very quickly. They're actually saving a fairly significant amount of money. So not to talk too much in terms of money, but this was saving about 42 hours work every single day. At their cost, that was £165,000 a year. The service that we offered them is probably about a quarter of that in terms of its running costs. So their ROI was, 3 months, really easy one to deliver. And it was just a small annoyance. It wasn't so much a really complex process. I'll show you a more complex one now, but it really did have an impact on their business. Let me be on something a little bit more complex. So again, in legal, and like I say, I don't want to dwell too much that they're all legal, but the process is all driven by document. So this is a lower volume process. This was one of our clients dealing with 80 medical reports following an RTA or personal injury claim a day. The challenge at hand, they had to review the documents manually, and they needed somebody reasonably well trained to do that. And it could vary. I mean, realistically, from anywhere from 10 to 20, even 30 minutes for each document. Because they were working at pace, mistakes were made, and what those mistakes would result in is inaccurate quantum valuations, and that can be quite that would be quite devastating. So they took their time and effectively did their very best with it. What we brought in was something that worked quickly, accurately, created a great audit. And one of the other things is that quite often the injury codes and the valuation for injuries for over a period of time would change. So retraining for them was one of the big things that they really struggle with. Obviously, retraining a service is really, really easy. We could do that overnight for them. So again, let me kind of show you the video of that working. So all of this, just to be clear, this is back office processing. Our clients don't see this. This just happens after we've received an email. So in this case, we actually received emails. We manage an email box for this client. And I'll show you a medical report coming into that. If you could just let me know, Scott, if that's popped up there.
Yep, got it.
Brilliant. So this is it working inside of our platform. So the first, I'm going to pause this because again, it's very quick. The first thing the system is trying to do is ascertain and get off about 12 fields of information. So all of that's being validated as well. So that would be things like the proclaim reference number, first name, last name, date of birth, date of the report. It's looking in the medical report that's been supplied by the consultant for that key information. Then it's matching that directly to a case in the database or an extract from the database to make sure that we're first and foremost, we're looking at the right case. Absolutely has to be 100% accurate. Otherwise, where are we at with this? It's the wrong case. It ends up going to a person, causes a lot of problems. We don't get any of these that fall out. The main part of this and the interesting part is the software. Once it's gone through that validation process, it then quickly moves on to looking further into the document to understand the injuries, the types of injuries, the injury codes that sit behind those. So obviously we're running databases behind that, which is matching information to it. So the next part is key. This is the piece that effectively creates that quantum. So what are the injuries? Where are the injuries? What's the period of recovery for those injuries that the consultants put forward? And in most cases, in the very early part of this, we would get a few injuries that would flag up to an operator. That's what you can see happening now very quickly. So the software didn't read it off the document on the right, but actually one of our team came in, looked at section H and keyed it and automatically processed it. What that did was for the client was gave them a really good audit. So what was done, when it was done, how quick it was done. It gave them an easy way to make a quantum calculation. In fact, we passed directly into the quantum calculator for that. I'm not going to tell you that every piece of that every document that goes through that process goes through perfectly. It doesn't. So we quite often see different form types, different consultants that are sending information in, and to deal with that, what we would do is we would handle exceptions on our side. So our team would look at the exceptions, key the information, train the system. So if we flagged a new document we'd never seen before, that would go for training later that day. Also, the worst was some information that wasn't in their data set. So anything that's what we would call a client exception, we would host back to them in a secure environment, so we get all the data. We understand from the start of when we receive that in the email box, right the way through the process and back to the client. We understand every single touch point, whether it was all system driven, who was involved in making the decision, what decision they made. All that audit was available and became really quite valuable information for them. So the kind of return on investment for that was slightly different. So you've got there less hours, less documents, but in actual, it was the key thing for them. The customer's main goal was to be able to process more of these claims with the same team in the same building with the same headcount. So we absolutely provided that. We gave them the potential, and they've grown to, I think, just beyond this now, to triple the volume they were handling with exactly the same team. But one of the key things was the accuracy in reporting. So no missed cases, no valuations that were done incorrectly, and ticking the box from a compliance perspective. It can be quite fast and furious. We do a lot of work in the claims space, and you have to retain that level of credibility with it. So that was a really good project. Kind of moving on to the future state. Where are we with in terms of AI? So we've just started to use AI in the last 12 months, and we're using it in different ways. I think one of the things that we've started to talk to some of our bigger clients on the financial side, some of the debt clients and some of our legal clients, is we've processed their documents for them, but we didn't necessarily see what outcome came from that. So what was the outcome of that case? How did you get to that position? And we're starting to review that with them now. So when we process their documents in the future, we can start to get to a position where we're not just helping it through the workflow, we're actually help predicting that outcome and possibly in some cases making some legal arguments. So in rapid claims, we're seeing that. So we've just recently engaged with a buyer partner to build a process for dealing with car finance and PCP claims, which we're going to be expanding out into housing disrepair and also into accident damage of vehicles. I'll touch on that briefly because I know we've not got too long, but ultimately our challenge from our clients is, can you do more than just look after the document in the process? So for car finance PCP claims, which essentially is a financial claim, we're managing the process from when somebody puts their information into Facebook and generates a lead for that client, right through to the signing of that client, the request for the DSAR from the financial lender, the DSAR coming back and the extraction of the information from that DSAR, right the way through to creating the legal argument and passing that back out to a law firm based on a panel of firms by a set of criteria. So lots of different tools in that. The beauty of being a business that isn't just one piece of software, we can use multiple tools, is that we can generate that for our client and build them a nice commercial model that makes sense. One of the other things I want to touch on just briefly. So scanning is not something you'd usually talk about in an AI and automation webinar, but we store about 500,000 boxes of content for our clients. And over the past 6 months, we've started to look at ways customers that have valuable information sat in boxes that's costing them money and doesn't really do anything for them. So we've gone through a process to build some quite interesting commercial funding models for them. So we look at boxes that have moved, boxes that have high value content in, and we offer to digitize them immediately at high volume on a funded model that can be spread out over a number of years, effectively just to allow those documents to get into the AI pool to drive some of those outcomes. A lot of these firms have been going for 10, 15, 20 plus years, and that information is valuable, and yet it's sat in a cardboard box in a warehouse in Wrexham or Newcastle. So quite an interesting approach, and I know you don't mind me mentioning it, but I think for some of the firms that we're on today, it's definitely worth a shout out. And that's me, hopefully not too far from time.
No, that was great. Perfect, Paul. Thank you. We'll maybe run a few questions at the end. I just want to present a couple of more slides from my side. The two providers we've seen so far, I know they're kind of referencing legal and insurance industries. the technology we're seeing today is applicable to all industries, and it's our job as PrimeTel AI to help you work out where that technology can be best used. You know, you may have an idea of where AI and automation can be used within your business. Well, then our goal is to help you find the right supplier, and we do that by going through 3 stages. Essentially, we'll create an evaluation report, which is an overview of your business needs, which will then in turn generate a technology report, which is a detailed document of where and what technology can be used to fulfill the needs or build an AI automation use case. And then we'll then create a supplier report, which will then tie into which suppliers are the best fit. This is usually a chargeable service, our consultancy in this space, but for everyone on the call today, we're going to be providing our consultancy service free of charge. So here's just an example of some of the documentation that we put together. You know, we do take a lot of time over this, and it can be very detailed. So if anyone is interested in booking up a session after this to take advantage of this offer, please indicate in the poll on the right, and we'll prioritize those follow-ups and get you booked in. So yeah, last but not least, we have the amazing Poly.AI.
Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Let me share my screen here for a moment. And put that into slideshow. That should have us going.
Yep, got it.
Okay, perfect. So thank you for having us here. I'm very proud to represent Poly.AI. As you saw in the beginning of this presentation from Scott, there are a lot of different suppliers that they have, and to have been selected to present here today is actually a real pleasure for us, and we appreciate that. My name is Michael Sabelli. I'm Vice President of our partner channel here, of which the wonderful company that is PrimeTel leads us and our capabilities to represent to customers like you our digital assistants, which are very different than anything that you're going to see in the market. I can go and tell you a lot of reasons why Poly.AI is different, and I can get into that, but I really like to do this in the opposite way. I want to show you something that gives you the real reasoning, and that is really hearing why we're different. Because hearing is believing, and whether you call them digital assistants, bots, people call them very different things. I think what you're going to see is these are customer-led. So rather than try to funnel a customer down a path of, if you want to do this, press that, and if you want to do that, press this, what we do is we open up the conversation and allow the customer to lead the way that's going to be driven simply by talking and telling us what they want to do. Now, Poly.AI was formed by 3 PhDs out of the institution that is Cambridge, there in the UK. As you know, the information and the quality of people that come out of there is pretty amazing. And we're very proud of the fact that our founders have come through that language lab and developed this. So with that, let me play you 2 different scenarios. This is an actual call into one of our current customers. I'm going to play you the first one because you'll see it's customer-led, and you'll notice that the virtual assistant does things and says things to help get the customer the information they want, but allows them to lead it. And then in the second one that you're going to hear, they're going to ask multiple things. So it takes a call and brings it back and forth into different questions that are being asked by the caller. So with that, let me start with one that you might know here as Big Table. And this is simply someone that is calling in for a reservation. And what you'll notice here is how the interaction works with this digital assistant. There is going to be some redaction of information, and that's just not to give away someone's personal info. So,
Cafe Bridge Portsmouth, how can I help you today?
Oh, good evening. Could I book a table for 1:30 this coming Sunday for 4?
Let me just have a look at what space we have. Okay. We have a table on the 30th of January at 1:30 p.m. for 4 people. Is that all okay for you?
That would be excellent.
Great. And did you want to book for the a la carte menu?
Yes, we will.
Okay. Shall I go ahead and book that in for you?
Please do.
Great. Can I have your full name, please?
My full name is David
Can you spell your last name for me?
G.
Can we reach you on this number?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm just waiting to see that go through. And that's done. Is there anything else that you need to let me know? Any allergies or other notes that I should make on your booking?
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, so what you may have noticed there is as the interaction was going on, you heard things like, let me just check that for you. And that's allowing the system to do information in the background, like look up whether or not the tables were available at that time, et cetera. But it's just natural that it captured that information and it covered that dead air with something like that. Those are all custom done in the way that the company would like their brand represented. So by voice, by things like, covering up that information, anything that you need custom, that's how we build these at the start. The next one I'm going to play is around this Starling Bank. And the reason I want to let you hear this one is because the caller is going to ask for multiple things. So rather than it get at the end and it be the end of a call, the customer then brings it back in and asks multiple things that you're going to hear. And I want you to hear how this goes.
Hi, thanks for calling Starling Bank. How can I help?
Hey, I'd like to check my account balance.
Okay, I can help you with that. First, what's your postcode?
EC1M5PY.
And the name on your account?
Nikola Mrksvic.
Finally, what's your date of birth?
April 4th, 1991.
Okay, I found your account. I've sent a notification to your Starling Bank app. Please tap that now. Thank you. I've got your account details. Your balance is £7,215. Is there anything else I can help with?
Yes, I'd like to change my address.
Okay, I can help you with that. What is your new postcode?
HP52PG.
To confirm, that is HP52PG.
Yes, that's right.
And what's the first line of your new address?
19 Hivings Hill.
What date did you move into your new address?
Last Friday.
Okay, to confirm, your new house number is 19 and you moved in on the 16th of July.
Yep.
Great. I'm just making that change. All done. Is there anything else I can help with?
How can I print my account statement?
Are you on iOS or Android?
I have an iPhone.
In the app, tap Menu, then Statements, and then Statement History. Is there anything else I can help with?
No, thank you. Goodbye.
Goodbye. Have a great rest of your day.
Okay, so there were two different examples there that you heard, and I hope you can appreciate how that natural language was understood as well as the information relayed back. So the reason behind that and why we're so different is that ability to understand the spoken language. How someone talks, the accent someone may have, the variety of languages that are out there, and whether somebody would say a postcode as 123 ABC, while another might say 123 Alpha Beta Charlie, we can gather that information and ensure that we can play it back to them. And you'll notice it actually checked some of those things as it went back. But the key around this is those intuitive conversations, right? It is a very, very difficult path when you talk about voice and language as compared to doing things that are presented in the format of a text or something of that nature. It's not to say one is better than the other, but allowing a customer to do business in the manner in which they do and be able to do that well is very, very important. Our founders believed that voice was so difficult that it was the first one that we wanted to undertake and to do it better than anybody else. And we do that by various levels of stripping out information that is unnecessary and then gathering just that information that we think pertinent to the conversation and ensuring that we're capturing all that in the correct manner. You'll notice a very natural voice selection there, and those are all built custom and selected by the customer. So however you would want your brand represented is the type of voice that is used, whether it be a male voice or a female voice, whether it be one with a variety of accents to it, and so on. And then one of the other things that I think we do very well for our customers is we then take the information on the incoming calls and we capture that in analytical fashion. That allows PrimeTel and us to come back to you to say, okay, here's what we did at the start and the things that we did for the company. However, here is a listing of the calls that are coming in and the variety of questions that are coming. And it helps us then direct where maybe the next area that we focus on within the organization would make the most sense to help handle the highest amount of calls for those next groupings, if you will. Some of the things that we do, as you can see here from this slide, there's a lot of variety of things, as you can see, but one of the things that we try to do is meet you where the need is most. And by that, I mean, whether you have agents that are turning over highly, we try to understand the reasons why and to actually offset that by having mundane tasks be performed by the virtual assistant and leave those agents to handle the more complex things that are needed. We reduce hold times. The average hold time that someone is sitting waiting in a queue to get into your company. How we automate some manual work. Handle your FAQs and things that can be easily handled by this virtual assistant. There's a lot of things we can do, and the only way we can figure those out is by sitting with you along with PrimeTel and having those discussions and seeing what areas of the business would make the most sense for us to look at. These are just a small sampling of some of the major customers that we work with. And it's a variety of customers, as you can see, in a lot of different industries. FedEx is one that was unique in that that began actually in Europe as a passport delivery option. They were delivering passports to end users, and of course you would have to sign for that. And what they were noticing was they were having to go back because someone wasn't there when they needed the signature. It's not something that obviously would be left. And so they were re-rolling trucks and they were having to redo appointments. And as such, we were able to automate all that so that customers could change those appointments. And then eventually even allowed them to go to a depot to pick those up. But that started in Europe. That actually went to Asia Pacific region. It's now coming up through South America and then eventually into North America as well for FedEx. So a very, very large deployment in a lot of different languages. The key here is we do speak the customer's native language. And as you'll notice, as an example, under English, you can see there we do UK, USA, Australian, so variety of accents and things that are needed, as well as in French, you would do France, Belgium, Switzerland, and Canada. So as things change according to location, We build all these custom, and you can speak that actual language. We do a variety of integrations, and those would be to very complex CRMs and very common ones, though, such as Salesforce as an example. So we can then work with your CRM to integrate, or with contact centers that may already be in place and put us on the front end of that contact center. So for example, if someone had a contact center that has been in place for a while, which would be considered an on-prem contact center, like an Avaya or a Cisco, PrimeTel has many on-prem, we can front end even those so that those don't have to be changed out as quickly as they might need to be, but you want some AI layered in the front of that. While at the other end, companies that are already in the cloud and want to integrate with some AI, we can go on the front end of those as well. And we integrate with many, as you can see there. So with that, I'm going to open it up for questions and see if there's anything that might be needed to be discussed there in the chat. Scott, I don't hear you. You're muted.
Sorry, good spot. Yeah, we had a question about Salesforce integration. I know that you guys at Poly do. And I'll open that up to the other guys first. We'll just cover off the Poly.AI bit first. Sorry. Integrations with BT, does it include Ignite? That's a question to Poly.AI, I guess.
Yes. So it depends on the handoff. Typically, these are simple SIP handoffs that we would do between the two. So yes, if it was something that had to be done more custom, we would work along with BT to do that. But they're typically SIP handoffs, and I would get involved in that more technically to see exactly what they needed and how.
Yep.
But the answer is generally yes, because they're simple SIP handoffs.
Yeah. Okay. Just one question I had then, just in terms of kind of delays in complex questions. Is there a way that that's handled to make it sound more human? How do you kind of get over that?
Yeah, if you'll notice in the first one where the digital assistant kind of said something like, let me just see if I have that, and kind of stretched out the conversation as they were doing a lookup, if you will. That enables us to cover that dead air time and do a quick lookup and then come back. So we do that, and we build those to sound more natural in doing those lookups and things like that. The key to our lookups is, one of the things that we do very differently is, if someone called in and said something like I had talked about earlier, 1, 2, 3 ABC, or they said 123 Alpha Beta Charlie, we take that spoken language and we send it to 4 different companies at once immediately. One of those companies many of you may have heard is a company by the name of NVIDIA. NVIDIA is very, very good at doing a translation of that and understanding what was said. But this changes so fast that today they may be very good at it, but tomorrow someone else may be better at that particular question. And so we send it to 4, they send back that information to us, and then we do a review of all 4 immediately, and we take what we believe was said, which is why we can take those different methods in which someone says it and then do the best match so that we're not missing a postcode or an account number or something of that nature.
Okay, great. And just to open up the Salesforce integration questions to everyone else, Paul, if Cleardata, if the data needed to then be populated into Salesforce, is that something you could do?
Yeah, our business runs on Salesforce, so we've got quite a bit of experience just on our internal stuff. But yeah, absolutely, Salesforce. I think we connect to about 165 different backend platforms across our processes, so we'll always find a way. But yeah, Salesforce has got direct API integration.
Okay, and Sundown, I'm pretty sure I know the answer here, but
yeah, thanks, Scott. So what we showed earlier, the Project Shirker application is really a framework that can be integrated with any backend system, as long as it has some sort of API that we can integrate with, which I know Salesforce does. So in a roundabout way, yes.
Great. One more question in. Are there more niche and unexpected ways you have utilized voice AI chatbots? Like you mentioned, you've used them for passports. I guess that's for Poly.AI.
Yeah, I put an answer in there. There are many use cases in a large variety of industries that we can share with you. So if they're specific to you and understanding your industry, we would give you some ideas on that. However, while there are some things that we can kind of do that are industry-wide, they are all done custom so that it fits exactly what you actually do and how you do it. So we don't just take one and stamp it into the next, because each company has a unique way of presenting themselves and their own persona, and we make sure that we do that.
Right. Well, that's the top of the hour. I have just put a final poll in there just to gauge a bit of feedback on today's session. It's really useful for us to understand what you liked, what you didn't like, also, you know, which suppliers you're most interested in, again, so we can help prioritize follow-ups. But yeah, thank you all for those that joined and that are still on. Appreciate you taking the time to stay on to the very end. And special thanks to all the presenters today. Really great offerings, and I really appreciate you taking the time out to showcase your solutions.
Thanks, Scott.
Have a good day, all.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.